evening, everyone. Agenda changes, I do not believe we have any. We do have an executive session, okay, that is on there. Leads us into our first guest recognition. Marcy, still on there? Do you have anything for the board? Okay.
Yeah, it's really difficult to hear.
What?
Difficult to hear.
Oh, you gotta go louder?
I'm going to grab the other microphone.
Items, move on to items 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'll take as one motion if someone would like to make it. Jim, have a second?
I'll second.
Beth? Any discussion or questions on any of those items?
I did want to, just for the record, that one letter of, the dates went from like April, I know the one got corrected to April 2021, and then but further on in the letter, it said April 2020.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure for the record, it was April 2021 to June.
I have that on mine.
Yeah, there was one in the third paragraph that was still 20.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she probably pointed this out.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I did not catch that.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass 5-0. Item 8, items for board discussion and or adoption. Discussion on a budget, rollover budget and estimated revenues. Are you up, Kristen? Or do you handle that right?
She's on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
We can hear you fine.
Okay.
We don't have to right now, but go ahead.
I can barely hear you guys. So I put in the memo to the board, just that this is a very, well, I called it an ugly budget because all it is the worst case scenario with revenues and expenditures. We have about a $650,000 budget gap because we don't know what our state aid is. I gave it an explanation for all the major points in the revenues and the expenditures to try to explain where we're at right now. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Kristen, it was just very helpful that you just did a little like what you did for each one of what it involves. So thank you for that extra little sheet on page 2 after with your rollover.
Oh, you're welcome. I also wanted to say what I explained to Ryan is that as more detailed information comes along, which is part of the budget process, we'll be able to update most of those numbers.
With this year having a little bit of extra, I'm trying to shout, so hopefully you can hear me. With this year having a little bit of extra, extra dynamics to that, how the process usually clears up over the next 8 weeks because of the stimulus money, and how that's going to be allocated. We're in a wait and see pattern on how some of that's going to take place also. But we will be wrestling to see what we need to do to access that money, whether it's going to come into the budget as a supplement or if it's going to supplant existing funds, which we tend to think that it will. It's not going to be extra money, but it may be used to help fill some of the gaps.
Yes, and if anyone heard Governor Cuomo's speaking today, he mentioned the 20% state aid reduction as a stopgap measure for the $15 billion in their budget gap for this year.
Yeah, he said it's nothing, we don't get any stimulus money from this new government and 20% for education.
Right.
All right, has anybody got any other questions? All right, you know, we're just beginning here, so it'll evolve a little at a time, and that we don't quite have the answers yet until we find out what this new administration is going to be doing. Okay, thanks, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Moving on to COVID-19 update.
All righty, the COVID-19 update. While Jim is plugging in a microphone. The biggest news on COVID-19 for us is we're I think today and Thursday, Friday, we started to see some of the effects of the break, where cases started rolling late Thursday and Friday. And this morning, we found out about a couple of additional cases. I will get a communication together for the community tomorrow that summarizes what we learned about the break. Unfortunately, we did have a couple of situations over break where we simply were not notified about positives. So it was sometimes up until Tuesday or Wednesday by the time we were able to get in touch with some families. Drop their students off and then come back to school to pick up the students. Adam Wheeler was another one in there. Speech, and then counselors and psychologists and social workers were included. And so we've been trying to get the communication out to those folks to register for external clinics as quickly as we can. On Friday, the governor announced that they would be moving to 1B this week. And Livingston County is ready to move to 1B. The problem was they didn't receive any vaccine today. So we're trying to open it up and organize clinics and what we're calling closed pods at each school to take care of the vaccinations. But we can't guarantee we're going to have vaccine for the closed pods. So right now, the county's not able to guarantee the access to the vaccine, so we can't organize a school-wide pod because we won't know if we have enough doses, which also makes it difficult to plan. We can't send teachers to Livingston County to get the vaccines because they teach classes during the day. So we're in the process of working with the county and other schools to try to figure out the best way to organize getting vaccines to the people who need them, because just like the clinics will not necessarily be held in the evenings or on the weekend. So we're going to have a plan for doing that. What my latest thinking is around this, and this has some support regionally, is the idea of taking advantage of an emergency closure type activity to flip to remote as a district, hopefully with some notification, And we might find out on Wednesday that the county's going to have 1,000 doses on Friday. We may flip to remote instruction for the day, work with the county and some of our school neighbors to have a clinic set up at Avon ready to go from 8:30 to 10:30. I'm making up time, don't quote me on this, where our nurses work with the health department who has to be on site to administer the vaccines. Currently, it takes about an hour for one nurse to administer 30 vaccines. So in about 2.5 hours, and everyone who is affiliated with the Avon district in terms of faculty and staff, who could be educators, could be vaccinated in approximately a 2.5 to 3 hour window. But that is built upon the idea that the county can have access to that quantity of vaccines. So that's what we're wrestling with right now, trying to figure it out. And sadly, on the flip side of this, we know that some of our regional clinics have had to throw out doses because they couldn't get arms to stick, is the term that they use, quickly enough, in spite of their efforts, because they didn't have permission to move beyond 1A. So it's a little bit of a challenge right now, but I think we're going to find our stride. And the best thing to think about is this is still a full month to a month and a half ahead of where we were just told we were going to be just a few weeks ago. So it's messy right now. We're trying to keep it regionally from becoming the Wild West. But I think we just need to stay committed to keeping it organized and working together, and hopefully we'll come up with a plan that makes sense for all the schools. In the next probably 4 to 6 weeks, I think we will have a great sense of where we're at, and we will have made a big progress. But that's the challenge, the number of cases, the number of doses versus who's allowed to get them right now. One other thing that I'd want to make sure that I recommend, that idea of flipping to remote to do the vaccination, we would have to do that twice because the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer vaccine both require 2 doses. And you have to get them from the same site once you start.
Is it a certain amount of time though?
Yep, the Pfizer vaccine, you have to wait 21 days. And as far as I know, Noyes is the only one doing the Pfizer vaccine regionally. Tri-County and the health department themselves are getting the Moderna vaccine, which is a 28-day period between administrations.
But is it 21 days plus or minus 3 days or 4 days, or once we have the clinic here, we know exactly when the next one's going to be?
We hope we know. It's going to depend on supply chains in the county,
right.
For the county to do that.
But if it's, you got to have it in 21 days, then if they have it, we know what day it's going to be at. So
yep.
The communication. My question would be is, do we think it's possible, or if it's wise that, we send out a communication now that there's a possibility that we would have a short notice remote day due to teachers being vaccinated? Just a notice out there that we don't know when it's going to be. It could be this week or it could be next week, but just be aware that it could happen. I don't know if that's something we should do or not do.
I think it's a great idea to be prepared to communicate. I think the possible system with the county superintendents and with Livingston County is still evolving.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I want to put that communication out across the district yet until the idea emerges a little bit more solidly.
Yeah, it's okay.
But it's hard because you end up chasing it if you're not on top of it. So it's
And you're looking for consistency, like you want to all of our regional schools.
right.
They're trying to do the same.
Yeah, and it'll just take time. So we just have to realize it's going to take time, and that we are 5 to 6 weeks ahead of where we thought we were going to be even just 3 weeks ago.
They can hear you much better now.
Okay.
You need to shout.
Would you want me to keep shouting, or can I?
Could someone talk on the other end just so I can check how the volume, because I was messing with a lot of settings. Marcy, could you talk? I know we could hear you earlier.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Rob could yahoo. Where's Toby? And someone say something?
Yeah, Marcy is, but we're not hearing her. That's what I was concerned about. Just one little
You can't hear me?
adjustment here. Marcy, you let me know if you lose the sound.
Okay, I hear you guys fine.
How about now, Marcy?
Well, Jim was
Can
working
you
on
hear
that.
me?
So like when it's smaller numbers of offices, like if it's you know, just a couple
Can
of
you hear
people,
me?
then it's possible for them to get to a clinic and get back to
Okay,
school.
thanks,
But
Jen.
when you're talking about
You're the only
everyone
one
from bus drivers to
responding.
classroom teachers, it's not possible to do it in the numbers that it would take. We'd be doing vaccines for the next two years. So that's why we're trying to figure out how to have people, large numbers of people available at the same time. Another thing we've thought about is the Wednesdays, because at least our 7 through 12 population of teachers would have some opportunity. Maybe we can balance a Wednesday with February 4th, when we have a late arrival plan, and we could hit the K-6 teachers on the late arrival time period. It's just very fluid right now, and without knowing when and how we'll have access to vaccines, it makes it hard to plan.
Okay.
Someone's calling us.
No, I was just testing our audio. Marcy, you can still hear it? Can you hear us now? And can you talk for a second?
Hi there.
Perfect.
hear me?
Thank you very much. Sorry for the interruption. We're all good.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on COVID and what current situation is?
Are you just gonna have to be careful now too with the February break coming up?
I'm sorry, I missed the
With
first
the
one.
vaccines and the timing, are you gonna keep an eye on the February break or you're?
Yep, that was one of the things we talked about too, like, is that it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of people going different places,
Yeah.
that maybe that's a good time to target also,
Okay.
but it's just hard with the county not knowing when how much they can order and when they're gonna get it. Like, they were expecting vaccines this morning and they didn't come.
But that's what I was thinking, if it's exactly 21 days, and what happens if it's on a Saturday or Sunday? The 21 days, or it can't be, 21 is the exact week, but, okay. Okay, there's no other questions on COVID, let's move into strategic planning.
Great, just a quick update on strategic planning for everyone. Through the course of the pre-work, the Board of Education and I just did a work session with Nicole Aliota from Alabreva Educational Consulting. Across the district, we had 223 parent surveys. She talked about what a strong response that was. 65 grade 2 students, 265 grade 5 through 8 students, 307 grade 9 through 12 students, 107 instructional surveys, 32 non-instructional surveys, a significant number of individual interviews, and 2 focus groups. With one of the focus groups, also she did a follow-up interview, I believe, with previous alumni. So really great representation across the district. We have an executive summary in hand that we started working with. The next steps will be the leadership team will work with Nicole on Wednesday of this week to do some additional planning. The idea is that we're going to start identifying some priority areas and start to look for some possible outcomes in the short term, intermediate range, and long term. But it's exciting that the data is in. We had a great response, and we have a good, solid executive summary to be working from. So that's a quick summary of where we're at in the strategic planning process. Can I answer any additional questions?
Okay. Okay, moving on to reports, president's report. Within the next couple of weeks or so, board members will receive a superintendent evaluation blank to please fill out and evaluate our superintendent. He will be sending some reference materials to you prior to getting that, just so you have something to look back at if you're looking at something. Process will work just like we did before. Everyone fill one out, get it to me. I'll tabulate it all and then give it our overall to us. Then I'll share it with Ryan. But I just want to get that out there. We're going to try to keep on time this year. Never seems to get it on time, but once I get it out there, you'll be getting emails from me every once in a while, say how you're doing, just to keep you moving. So, or if you got any questions.
You'll have a due date that you put out.
I will, yes. Okay, legislative. Beth.
A couple of things. There is, just as a reminder, and I do have a sheet. The legislative day is January 30th at Leroy Service Center. So they're looking to have this turned in by Monday, which is our next board meeting, but we would need to know. So I'm just gonna pass this around. So if it's something that you're interested in attending, that would be great. It's also the same day of the Al Hawk Award for Distinguished Service. And then, am I right, Ryan? We have Excellent Student Service Award that we submitted.
Correct.
That had to do with our drama department.
Correct,
Right. So I'm just gonna pass that around. And then would we then give this to Maya?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can do this by Zoom or attend.
Right.
Right? And our legislators, usually most of our legislators or one of their representatives will also be there. Because this is just before they're compiling the state budget, so we get to yell and scream and say, we don't have any money, and they'll come back and tell us that, well, it's up to Como, whatever he gives us. But it gives you an opportunity to meet them too, whether it's by Zoom or if they come in person, so.
All right, so that was one thing, and thank you for working on the Student Service Award. Was that Ryan Wagner and
Ryan and Jen.
So thank you, Ryan and Jen. That'll be nice. More on the NISBA side, they are reminding us that they're encouraging districts to appoint a advocacy liaison.
Yeah.
And then the virtual Capitol Conference is February 3rd. I forgot, I guess we do it through Maya. I jumped the gun and couldn't get in. I'm like, why am I not getting in? And because Maya does it. So that is definitely virtual. And so that's February 3rd.
And there's no cost associated with that.
There is no cost, but Maya was waiting for more information from them, but every week we get, the executive directors, and there's always a registration. So if you're interested, we should let Maya know and she'll register us. It's not like I have a form or anything like that.
Okay.
So just as a reminder. And I don't know if that is something that we would just do all on our own in our own homes, or, because unfortunately we wouldn't be going to, it's virtual.
Right. It probably wouldn't hurt just to have a registrar office. There's no cost to the district.
Okay,
This way here, if you want to get on, you can go on and you can just check it out for 5 minutes or, 2 hours or whatever. But
do you want to do that, tell Maya that?
Yep, you want me to take this and I'll have my register around?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that needs to go to Bob still.
she's talking about the NISBA.
So that's Genesee Valley School Board Association, and then,
I'm sorry.
That's the January 30th. Now, we have to register for that even though we're going to just Zoom in too, right?
yeah, so it said either in person or online.
Yeah. I'll put my name on there too, will you?
You going to vote?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna Zoom in, at least.
And then my action item is I'm gonna have my register everyone for the Capitol Conference.
Correct, which is February 3rd. So again, the only thing I have in terms of the advocacy liaison is it's different than what you would be doing as area director, yes?
Well, I do some of that. I did ask that question at my last meeting because you had brought that up. And
Yeah.
they're just asking someone to be, to all boards, they have someone who is keeping an eye out for the advocacy, because an advocacy alert comes out, they want you to do things. But I think everybody gets it when an advocacy alert comes out, tells you that, they have a form under there to send your senator or whatever, so like this. But if we want to appoint one, that's absolutely fine. You just keep track, and you'll get those advocacy alerts. But I said most of us always get them. So.
We're just gonna say, I think Brian just sent one out.
Yep.
Yeah. No prior experience is needed. That's me then. Just enthusiasm for advocating on behalf of you and your board. I did one for, the Caledonia representative, Marjorie Burns. I sent one off because of the transportation aid.
Yeah.
And so, there is opportunities, and just reminding everybody, hey, if you haven't, this might be, something to do, so. We don't have to
Yeah,
decide
so
that
if someone
today.
wants to be it, we can send it but don't just say that here's our advocate. So you may or may not get another separate email separately with other information, but.
I can do it. It's, like you said, we're already getting the notices, so I can do it and just make sure it's all through.
Sounds like we got a volunteer.
Yes. That sounds
Or this,
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
And we'll, I guess we'll somehow notify NISBA, maybe Maya notify NISBA or advocacy.
Yep, liaison.
Liaison is,
That'd be Karen.
thank you, Karen.
All right, that's it legislative wise.
Okay, the administrators' reports, questions on the report that came up for any of our administrators?
I don't have a question, but I would like
Comment,
to
anything?
thank Ryan and Jennifer for nominating the Drama Club for their Excellence in Student Service Award. I actually did attend the Scrooge at the drive-in, and even though there was a few little bumps
Yeah, I
on the
was
road,
there.
I think it still came together. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it, and you can see the hard work and the videographer. I would love to meet Ian Smith.
Oh, Ian.
Well, that was fabulous. It was just fabulous. And even having the kids later coming through, giving out the hot chocolate because they felt bad because it was late it was wonderful. So I thank you for nominating them.
So I think they will be receiving something on the 30th, correct? Or is it just a nomination?
Well,
It's not, I haven't,
well, their executive board will decide.
yeah, I haven't received any word yet, but.
I think he
they've been,
said January 13th we would know, which is in 2 days. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so, I mean, if so, then the 30th of that,
yeah.
you can
Yep.
zoom in or you can go to both seats to see it.
Right. No, I again, in terms of the work, just reading through the reports that you guys have put together, Rob, I'm excited that you got an additional donation for Stone's Closet. That's remarkable, and this is a tough time, especially for families, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of good things put to use. And having sat on the COVID opening task force this summer, I loved seeing that we're still reaching out to parents and surveying them, because I know that Rob and I were on the communications output committee, and just getting that kind of feedback that was sent out to 7 through 12 parents, and getting that information and tweaking things as you needed to. So I'm really glad that we're continuing, that it wasn't just an upfront type measure, that we're continuing to reach out to parents and say, all right, how are we doing with this hybrid model, and what changes could we make? So, but again, the amount of work that you always have to do, and then everything in this heightened health situation, it just amazes me. You still have that computer simulation coming up. You've got, there's no slowing down. And so just thank you all for the tremendous effort that's happening, and your staff, and how well they're responding, and just, stepping up to the plate every single time.
Well said, well said.
Thanks, Rob.
Still want to do something for them.
Any other questions, or does any administrators got any additional comments?
I just want to acknowledge the work that Christina, Jim, Amy Lutz, and Ginny Batesel have done on behalf of the CBT testing. There's a lot of work behind the scenes of getting passwords, usernames, setting up accommodations. Jim's going to be here tonight setting up Chromebooks as far as putting them in testing mode. So that takes a tremendous amount of time. The result is that we're going to have some good information about our infrastructure, and the state will have some good information. And it's a good trial period before we give the test in the spring, but there's a lot of work. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Amy. And anyone else that I missed. Our staff has been great working with them as well. So thank you.
Any other comments?
I guess just one, because it was in the newsletter, I think it was either the principal's newsletter or your report. How did the January 4th professional development go for 5 through 12?
It went very well. I sat in the SEL, which is a very popular one, which talks about the social emotional learning. And I sat in with the grading with Ryan Wagner, but teachers were thrilled to have the opportunity to either play with certain apps and learn or talk about the things that they're doing in their classrooms. I did not attend the assessment with Christina Eklund, but I heard that was well received as well. Ryan, I know you probably have some information as well.
Yeah, I thought it went really well as well. I think it's a nice opportunity to have some staff learning in a, I feel like we're reacting this year constantly to COVID related things, where we're constantly looking at the schedule and we're communicating out when we have cases, and we're constantly tweaking. But this was a really nice opportunity for the staff just to have some professional learning opportunities in a variety of different avenues. And so I led the grading one twice. It went really well. What I like about it is just having those instructional conversations and staff being able to do some professional learning, some reading, and start thinking about grading, shifting perspectives in a different way. I heard positive things about the other sessions as well. And I want to thank the teacher leaders and the counselors who are leading those sessions. So I'm hoping to continue that on. I know Jen and I are, looking to keep that opportunity open for staff during the meeting times, and meeting with that group of professional leaders that are leading these sessions to either do some second sessions to the ones we previously offered, or offer some new professional learning sessions as well.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, thank you for that too. That's
So that's just
excellent.
an hour, like their faculty meeting at the end of that we did this.
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm also, I just want to thank everybody for that. That's what we need. Thank you all.
Okay, Superintendent?
Just a couple of things. Hopefully, there were a couple of things in the email update that I sent in regards to some information. I just want to make sure that I called your attention to that, things that didn't make it into the report. To piggyback on the thanks, I know you know this, but I just feel the need to say it. I'm just really thankful for how hard everyone is working. Whether it's Rob getting a call today about flipping a class, or Adam Wheeler being on the receiving end of the phone call and having to go right into, these kids are not coming into his classroom, he needs to figure out something different. And this has been a really hard year. There's no, I think we tend to want to soldier on and move past some of the challenges, but it's been a really hard year, and people have just continued to work incredibly hard and try to put the needs of the students that are in front of them first. And just really thankful for that. I think our faculty and staff have done an incredible job. From Adam, I talked about Adam. We have teachers who on short notice are teaching from home, and the teacher aide is supervising the students in the classroom, so that it takes away the challenge of getting a substitute teacher and having sub plans. Our teachers are just teaching from home because they have to quarantine. It's just, the mindset to just embrace the challenge and try to make the most of it. It's really been pretty remarkable. At some point, I wish in my free time I had a chance to write down all of those little things where people took the challenge and ran with it rather than be overcome by it. I wish I had a good record of that. That might be a good activity for us to go back and put together. But it's been awesome. It really, people have really stepped forward and have embraced the challenge. And it's been hard. There's no doubt it's been hard, but I thank them for their commitment.
I know I brought this up, and I don't know if the administrators were at that meeting, and it might have been the one where they were excused. But I did talk about, as a board, what could we do? And you made me think of something. I don't mean to put the rest of you on the spot, but what if we did do a collectiveness and we looked at, I don't know what our total number of staff are, we divided among the 5 of us, and we do a handwritten note. I mean, I heard so many people say that they love the card, they love the Christmas card because obviously, it just was different and they had student artwork and things like that. So I'm just trying to come up with ways so they know as a board, we see them, we recognize them, we appreciate their adaptability and flexibility. And it might be 20 notes. I mean, if we could come up with a template of what just I don't know, just something like that. So if you do end up collecting some specific things,
Mhm.
that might be something that I think that they would be like, wow, I had no idea they knew that.
Mhm.
And it's something small in comparison. So, I don't know how the rest of you feel about doing that or typing it up in your handwriting, exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever kind of ideas we can come up with.
Yeah, personal touch too, and
Yeah.
that
They
recognition,
know, but-
Yeah.
which does mean something. I
Yeah.
agree.
That's what I have. Anybody have any questions for Ryan? All right, moving on to roundtable. Beth,
Oh, I have talked enough.
Karen,
I'm good.
Jim?
I'm good, all set.
Also,
Good, okay. All right, future board meetings, 125, again, that's gonna be at 4:30 until 6.
Correct. I think-
We have not decided yet if that's gonna be here or Zoom.
We don't know, it's planned for it to be online, and I'll change it if that happens. If we have to.
Because we'll be meeting with,
Nicole, correct,
Nicole again, right? So
And-
yes,
the question would be is whether we wanna do all Zoom and he'll let us know. Is everyone okay either way?
Yeah.
We'll do it to 3 and 3, so we'll leave it up to you, Nicole.
Okay.
That's at 4:30, our board meeting will start at 6. That leads us into our last guest recognition. Marcy, you're our only guest.
I want to say, sorry for all of the distractions. We had just gotten home from a college signing. And-
Great.
Yeah, so very exciting. And the puppy is crazy, so she's running around chewing on my chair and stuff. So I'm sorry for the in and out and the distractions.
All good.
Oh, good, is right. Okay, the information you have there before you, okay, and we do need to go into executive session. So thank everyone that came. I think, Kristen, you're gonna stay with us. I have a motion to adjourn to executive session.
A motion.
Karen, do I have a second?
Second.
Jim, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in an executive session. So Jim, if you want to cut us out of here.
Kristen, you'll just have to jump over to the executive session.
Hey,
I'll get right over to close that down.
And Chris,